A380 is a long-range large aircraft, LA, subsonic, civil transport aircraft that has two passenger decks. The passenger seating layout may vary, depending on operator requirements. The certified maximum number of passengers is 853. Note: the various values and procedures mentioned in this course may vary according to a given aircraft, so please refer to your airline documentation to get more accurate data. The 380 cockpit has two seats, designed for a two-member flight crew, and has up to 3 additional seats for observers. The highlighted areas for more details. Given figures are based on a nose-wheel steering limit angle of 70 degrees. Refer to the procedure for a 180 degrees turn on a 60 meters wide runway, or for a turn on the turning pad. Necessary to operate the aircraft are provided to the flight crew via a control and display system, CDS, an optional head-up display, HUD, an onboard information terminal, OIT, a clock, and an integrated standby instrument system, ISIS. And display system, CDS, has 8 identical display units, DUs, that use liquid crystal display, LCD, technology. 5 DUs are installed in the main instrument panel and the 3 others are located on the pedestal. To display information to the flight crew, the CDS uses the Electronic Flight Instrument System, EFIS, the Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitoring, ECAM, and the Multifunction Displays, MFDs. Electronic Flight Instrument System, EFIS, displays flight parameters and navigation data on 2 primary flight displays, PFDs, and 2 navigation displays, NDs. Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitoring, ECAM, displays aircraft system data on one engine warning display, EWD, one system display, SD, and the lower part of the PFDs. Multifunction displays, MFDs, interface with the Auto Flight System, AFS, the Air Traffic Control, ATC, and the Surveillance System, SURV. DS uses two keyboard and cursor control units, KCCUs, that are located on the pedestal. Each pilot uses his on-site KCCU to directly interact with the systems displayed on the MD, MFD, and SD mailbox. Two FS control panels, FSCP, are located on the glory shield. Each FS control panel is used to interface with its on-site PFD and ND. On the pedestal, an ECAM control panel, ECP, is used to interface with the ECAM. On each side of the main instrument panel, controls are used to reconfigure the DUs and adjust the brightness of the FS, MFD and OIT. Onboard Information Terminal, OIT, provides access to flight operations manuals and applications. Each pilot has one OIT with its display and associated keyboards. Independent clock operates either in GPS or internal mode. This clock has four functions. Display the universal time coordinated, measure the elapsed time, drives the chronometer, and, if necessary, display the date instead of the universal time coordinated. An integrated standby instrument system, ISIS, displays flight and navigation parameters. The optional head-up display, HUD, provides guidance to the flight crew by gathering primary flight display information. It displays this information by superimposing symbols on external cues. The HUD is in the primary and forward field of vision of the pilots. Venus regulations. All mandatory flight instrument and aircraft system parameters are recorded by the Digital Flight Data Recorder, DFDR. The DFDR is located in the rear unpressurized section of the aircraft. Cockpit conversations are recorded by the Cockpit Voice Recorder, CVR. The CVR is located in the rear pressurized fuselage. EDS uses the concentrator and multiplexer for video, CMV, to manage the video display for the following systems: the Cockpit Door Surveillance System, CDSS, the Cabin Video Monitoring System, CVMS, the External and Taxi Camera System, ETACS, and the Onboard Airport Navigation System, OANS. CDS displays information to the flight crew using the Auto Flight System, AFS, the Air Traffic Control, ATC, and Surveillance System, SURV. ES also uses Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitoring, ECAM, to monitor the display of the aircraft systems and navigation systems to display information on the Electronic Flight Instrument System, EFIS. KCCU is directly connected to the ND, MFD, SD, and other display units in case of reconfiguration. KCCU enables the flight crew to interact directly with its on-site MFD, its on-site ND, and the mailbox part of the SD. KCCUs are functionally identical. Each KCCU has a cursor control device, CCD, and a keyboard, KBD. KCCU displays a different cursor on captain and first officer side. This cursor appears on the ND, MFD, and SD as follows. Initially like a yellow circle until it disappears, and then the active cursor. Both cursors can be displayed at the same time on the SD mailbox. The cursor appears in yellow when the cursor is active, and amber when the cursor is not active. Flight crew uses the KCCUs to interact on the ND, MFD, and SD. The cursor may disappear when the KCCU is not used for an extended period of time. It reappears initially like a circle when the flight crew uses any key or the trackball of the KCCU. Cursor is moved over the interactive part of the display unit. A blue box can appear around a field to indicate that it can be modified. Zone of the ND is the only interactive part. The interactive objects are the aircraft symbol, all displayed waypoints, all displayed nav aids, and all displayed airports. KCCU can be used to perform the following functions. Direct to insert or delete a waypoint, access data on any displayed airport, and insert or erase the temporary flight plan. For the direct to and insert functions, an interactive dialog box appears on the lower part of the ND and enables the crew to enter parameters. MFD screen is interactive and can display the following pages: Flight Management System, FMS, Air Traffic Control, ATC COM, Surveillance, SURV, and Flight Control Unit, FCU, Backup. TC mailbox is the only interactive part of the SD. The flight crew uses the KCCU to select and send messages to the ATC, and select and read messages from the ATC. Both cursors can appear on the SD at the same time. However, the only active KCCU will be the one that last interacted with the mailbacks. Or partial loss of the KCCU keyboard, a soft keyboard can be used as a backup. The soft keyboard appears in either the upper or lower part of the MFD when the hard keyboard fails, and as soon as the flight crew edits any field, or flight crew presses the keyboard key on the cursor control device. Note, the soft keyboard appears in the lower part of the MFD by default, unless the field to be edited is in the lower part of the MFD. Soft keyboard is displayed, a cyan box surrounds the enter key. To enter data, the flight crew has to change the selection with the trackball and validate the selected soft key with the validation push button. The selected character is written on the MFD. Soft keyboard is no longer displayed on the MFD when the flight crew presses either the keyboard key on the cursor control device, or the enter, or the escape key on the software keyboard. The Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitoring, ECAM, monitors most aircraft systems, triggers alerts, and provides operational information to the flight crew. The ECAM has two flight warning systems, FWS, and ECAM control panel, ECP. Four attention getters, referred to as master lights, four loudspeakers, and display capability on the engine warning display, EWD, the system display, SD, and the lower part of the primary flight display, PFD. CAM provides the necessary information to the flight crew. It displays this information on the EWD, the SD, and the lower part of the PFD. Of the EWD displays ECAM procedures that can be either alerts, sense procedures, or not sense procedures, not detected by the FWS. Alert is a visual and or oral signal that helps to detect and identify a system failure. Alerts are sense procedures that are automatically detected and displayed by the ECAM, and classified in 3 levels, depending on the importance and the urgency of the corrective action required. Emergency situation that requires immediate correction. The alert is a warning, level 3, that is, displayed with the red title on the first line of the engine warning display, associated with a continuous repetitive chime, CRC, or a specific sound, or a synthetic voice, and associated with the red master warning light and or specific red lights. Note, The SD automatically displays the dedicated system pages. For an abnormal situation that does not require immediate crew action, and that the crew should be aware of, the alert is a caution, level 2, that is displayed with an amber title on the first line of the engine warning display, associated with a single chime, SC, and associated with an amber master quad light. Note, the SD automatically displays the dedicated system pages. Situation that does not require a crew action, and that the crew should be informed of, for example redundancy loss, the alert is a caution, level 1, that is only displayed with an amber title on the first line of the engine warning display. There is neither a null alert, nor an attention getter. Note, the alert is usually displayed without any procedure. Cautions are classified into 3 different types, depending on their potential impact on other systems, and can be independent for a failure that affects an isolated system or an equipment item, primary for a failure that affects a system or an equipment item and causes the loss of other systems or equipment items, secondary for the loss of a system or an equipment item that is the result of a primary failure. Warnings are considered as independent. The alerts are prioritized between levels as follows. Level 3, warnings, have priority over Level 2, cautions, and Level 2, cautions, have priority over Level 1, cautions. The alerts are also prioritized in the same level. The not sent procedures are listed in the abnormal proc menu. The not sent procedures are not automatically detected by the ECAM, but activated by the flight crew. Note, when a not sent procedure is selected, there is neither an attention getter nor an oral alert. A blue box is dedicated to the selection of the desired not sent procedure. The red ones can be opened directly, for example, smoke fumes, and the amber ones are accessible through the white system submenus, for example, nav submenu. Not sent procedure is opened, for example, inertial reference alignment in attitude mode. The procedure title appears on the first line, in amber for an abnormal procedure or in red for an emergency procedure. The activate line is displayed on the first line of the procedure, and all the next lines of the procedure are frozen in gray as long as the activate line is not validated. Open procedure becomes active as soon as the activate line is validated. In such a case, the activate line is displayed in white, and each item of the procedure appears in its applicable color. Note, a not sent procedure is also associated to an alert level, and the ECAM manages its priority like any alert when activated. For some alerts, some procedure actions are deferred to a more appropriate phase of flight and are contained in a deferred procedure. These deferred procedures are displayed in the checklist menu page. Is displayed either in amber when it is not completed, or in white when it is completed. Procedures may be deferred to before approach and appear as for approach, deferred procedure, before landing and appear as for landing, deferred procedure, any other flight phase and appear as all phases, deferred procedure. When an alert or a not sent procedure is displayed, the procedure title appears on the first line, either in red for warnings or in amber for cautions. The EWD may display more than one ECAM procedure at the same time. This display is limited to the screen size. The ECAM procedures appear according to a priority order. Some cases, the ECAM may recommend landing and then displays land as ZAP, to land as soon as possible, or land ANZA, to land at nearest suitable airport. Blue box surrounds the title of the next applicable line. When the applicable line is completed, the next applicable one is automatically highlighted. A white line appears on the right side of any ECAM procedure to indicate which lines of the engine warning display will be cleared when either the clear item, if any, is validated with the tick push button on the ECAM control panel, or the clear push button is pressed on the ECAM control panel. When the EWD displays more than one ECAM procedure at the same time, the vertical line appears on the right side of the first procedure that will be cleared. Procedure has action lines and/or condition lines which can be either detected or not detected by the ECAM. Procedure action line which can be detected by the ECAM is preceded by a dash and appears either in blue when the action is not completed, or in white when the action is completed. Procedure action line which cannot be detected by the ECAM is preceded by a square and appears either in blue when the action is not validated, or in white when the action is validated. A procedure condition line which can be detected by the ECAM appears in white, and all its subsequent lines are either frozen in gray as long as the condition is not true, or displayed in their applicable color as soon as the condition is true. Procedure condition line which cannot be detected by the ECAM appears in white, and the white subsequent lines preceded by a square are used to validate the condition. The gray subsequent lines of a condition are either frozen as long as the condition is not validated, or displayed in their applicable color as soon as the condition is validated. soon as any action is completed or validated. Its item line becomes white, and the blue box moves to the next selectable item. For a long procedure which requires a choice between multiple conditions, the subsequent lines linked to each condition are not displayed and replaced by 3 gray dots to improve the readability of the procedure. When the condition is validated, all subsequent lines linked to the condition are displayed in their applicable color. Engine warning display is not able to display all lines at the same time. A green arrow symbol appears to indicate an overflow state above and/or an overflow state below. When a next selectable item is in the overflow area, the engine warning display automatically scrolls to this item and displays it. Procedure contains an auto-recall indication next to a condition line. It indicates that the procedure can be cleared. In this case, the ECAM automatically recalls the procedure to enable the flight crew to complete it. Reminder of normal operation items that should be performed in a specific flight phase. At any time during the flight, a checklist menu can be manually displayed on the engine warning display. Note, the checklist menu can also be displayed automatically when there is any deferred procedure. This menu is organized according to flight phases. All checklists are displayed in the checklist menu, either in gray when they have been completed, or in blue when they have not been completed. Checklist menu is displayed on the engine warning display. A blue box appears below the last completed checklist and surrounds the title of the next applicable checklist. Flight crew opens a checklist. The checklist title appears on the first line, and a blue box surrounds the next applicable item. The action lines of a checklist can be either detected or not detected by the ECAM. The vertical white line appears on the right side of the checklist menu and on the right side of any open checklist. It indicates which lines will be cleared if the clear push button is pressed on the ECAM control panel. A status indication appears below the checklist when there is status information and the status page is not displayed on the SD. If an alert or a not sent abnormal procedure is already displayed but has not been cleared, a failure pending indication appears at the bottom of the engine warning display when the flight crew displays a checklist menu or opens a checklist. Note, this indication is a reminder. When the checklist menu or the checklist is cleared, the alert or the not sent abnormal procedure reappears on the engine warning display, and the failure pending indication disappears. Checklist action line which can be detected by the ECAM is preceded by a dash and appears either in blue when the action is not completed or in green when the action is completed. Checklist action line which cannot be detected by the ECAM is preceded by a square and appears either in blue when the action is not validated or in green when the action is validated. Checklist complete line is displayed below the last checklist item. The flight crew validates this line when the checklist is completed. Note, the checklist complete line can also be validated even if various checklist items are voluntarily not validated. This may occur after a system failure that prevents the completion of various checklist items. When the checklist complete line is validated, all items of the checklist are frozen in gray and the corresponding checklist title appears in gray in the menu. Flight Priority opens a completed checklist. All checklist items appear in gray and a blue reset line appears below the checklist complete item. Reset line is the last item of the checklist. When validated, the reset line resets the items that are not detected by the ECAM in the checklist and subsequent checklist. Note, the items detected by the ECAM that were previously completed remain validated. Appear on the lower part of the PFD and on the EWD. A memo indicates the state of an aircraft system. Memos usually appear to display some crew selections or to indicate an automatic system function. Memo messages generally appear in green. For example, engine anti-ice, wing anti-ice, no smoking, seat belts. Direct impact on the conduct of the flight. For example, engine anti-ice, wing anti-ice appear on the lower part of the PFD and on the EWD. The other memos, for example, no smoking, seat belts, appear only on the EWD. Some particular memo items can be displayed in red, for example, autopilot off, or in amber, for example, auto thrust off on the lower part of the PFD and on the EWD, and magenta, for example, landing inhibit only on the EWD. Memos do not appear on the EWD when either a checklist or a procedure is displayed on the EWD. A maximum of 3 memo lines can be displayed on the lower part of the PFD. The first line displays the most important memo, and the other memos are displayed in decreasing order of priority. A memo not avail message appears when the PFD can no longer display memos. The CDS displays this message in case of communication failure between the FWS and the PFD. Memos appear in two columns on the EWD. The left column displays the takeoff, TO, or landing, LDG, memos. The right column displays the other memos. Note, the takeoff and landing memos inform the flight crew with a list of actions to be performed before takeoff and landing. Memos automatically appear after the engines are started and the listed items are displayed, either in green when the applicable actions are performed, or in blue when the applicable actions are not yet performed. The takeoff memos disappear when power is applied at takeoff. Note, the takeoff memos also appear in the before takeoff checklist. The landing memos automatically appear as soon as the aircraft is below a radio altitude of 2,000 feet. The listed items are displayed, either in green when the applicable actions are performed, or in blue when the applicable actions are not yet performed. The landing memos disappear during landing roll. Note, the landing memos also appear in the landing checklist. Limitations appear on the lower part of the PFD and on the EWD. A limitation is an operational constraint information that is applicable after some system failures. Limitations that have a direct impact on the conduct of the flight, for example, minimum RAT speed 140 knots. Avoid excessive G load, appear on the PFD and on the EWD. The other memos, for example, landing gear, keep down, taxi with care, appear only on the EWD. Limitations do not appear on the EWD when either a checklist or a procedure is displayed on the EWD. A maximum of 8 limitation lines can be displayed on the PFD. The first line displays the most important limitation, and the other limitations are displayed in decreasing order of priority. Note, on ground, before takeoff, and after landing, this area displays the pitch settings. Limitations not avail message appears when the PFD can no longer display limitations. The CDS displays this message in case of communication failure between the FWS and the PFD. Limitations appear in two columns on the EWD. The left column, all phases, displays the limitations applicable to all flight phases. The right column, approach and landing, displays the limitations applicable to the approach and/or landing phase. The first line displays the most important limitation. The other limitations appear in decreasing order of priority. When memos and limitations are displayed on the EWD, the memos appear below the limitations, and a horizontal line separates the memos and limitations. Note, memos and limitations, if any, appear automatically on the EWD after all procedures and checklists are cleared from the EWD. A meter of a monitored system is drifting from its normal operational range. An advisory condition is detected. In such case, an advisory indication pulses at the bottom right corner of the EWD, and the associated push button flashes on the ECAM control panel if Memos and Limitations page is displayed on the EWD, and the system page concerned by the advisory is not displayed on the SD. The advisory indication disappears from the EWD when the associated system page is displayed by pressing the dedicated push button on the ECAM control panel, or the parameter returns to its normal operational range. Status indication appears below the memo's limitations when there is a status information and the status page is not displayed on the SD. The left memos are displayed, for example, landing memo. Some limitations can be temporarily cleared when there is not sufficient space to display all applicable limitations and memos. The limitations are then removed on the EWD as follows. First, the limitations that are already displayed on the lower part of the PFD, for example, minimum RAT speed 140 knots, and then the other ones in the increasing order of priority, for example, taxi with care.